the three-headed attack that we had today, and you know, seeing James Cook kind of be the quote-unquote workhorse. I mean, 17 total carries. It's not, some crazy number, but a decent spread. Damian Harris with 7 carries, Latavius Murray with 6 carries. But I like the usage of them, and we saw Damian Harris and Latavius Murray both get touchdowns. Kind of that tough running spot that we saw be Josh Allen so often. Was kind of, a little bit disappointed on the 4th and 1 at the goal line that, that was a pass play and not smashing up the middle with Josh, Latavius, or Damian Harris. Maybe that was, trying to catch him sleeping, planning on that run play. But kind of what we saw towards the tail end of last season with James Cook going into this season, I mean, he averaged 7.2 yards a carry, with splitting carries with 2 other running backs, still able to go over 100 yards. He looks fast. He looks shifty. He added another, 36 yards in the passing game. So, I mean, for how much this offense has historically liked to move through the receivers, and we've always talked about having that complementary run game, it's still going to be, this team goes as far as Josh takes us, right? But having another 60 yards on 20 touches for James Cook, I love that being in the mix, and it's something that we haven't really had that dynamic of an athlete back there with Josh Allen.
Yeah, I thought that the Bills' rushing attack was super good, and I gotta talk about that first drive coming out of half. It looks like they really put a strong emphasis on the run game, and it was kind of like one of those closeout moments, but it was at the start of like the second half. Like, when like, all right, the Bills got the ball and they're just going to try to bleed the clock out, and it was kind of like, I don't know if the Bills can actually do this or not type situation. And now I'm more confident than anything that I feel like if the Bills had to do that, I'd be like 75% sure that they could do it, as opposed to like the last couple of years, it'd be like 50% sure, maybe less. But getting back to it, I felt like the Bills were basically like, hey, let's just bleed the clock out coming out of the second half, make them have to be one-dimensional, and eventually they pretty much had to be, and it worked. They had a really, really long drive. What was that first drive like? Coming out of that, like 9 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
It was incredibly long. I couldn't believe how long the drive was. I was like, man, that defense of the Raiders has to be tired. And outside of James Cook, who had a really good day, Damian Harris, 7 carries, 33 yards, 1 touchdown, average of 4.7 yards. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Like, so if your back is just, averaging 4 to 5 yards per carry, I think that's a pretty good average. Now, what's even more interesting for me, and what I really like, is the fact that Josh Allen was at the bottom of the list. I'm not counting Kyle Allen because he just had the kneel downs. But Josh Allen only had 3 carries. One of them was that weird hurdle that we already talked about, so I'm not going to talk about it again. But 3 carries for 7 yards. That's what I want to see. I want Josh to be on that bottom end. Not saying I don't want him to run, because that's what makes him really good, but I prefer him not to be the leading rusher if he doesn't have to be the leading rusher. And today was one of those days where he understood the assignment, he did everything right, and the running backs had such a good, solid day, and I'm just so happy about it.
Yeah, and that was kind of my ending point there too, of like, I love Josh Allen running. It's so fun to watch. It's, when he's just torching people with his arm, they kind of sell out to stop the pass, and he, rips off one of those 40-yard runs right up the middle, or he has to escape the pocket and you thought for sure you had a sack. But I'm going to love so much more than that any game where he has 6 incompletions and he only had to run the ball 3 times. That's a recipe for success.
That's how you'll know.